right, welcome back to our lesson on subsistence. This is part 3. So now we're going to talk about pastoralism. Pastoralism, also called animal husbandry, is the subsistence pattern of raising and maintaining herds of domesticated animals such as cattle, sheep, and goats. So, pastoralists use their animals for food. Consuming meat, blood, milk, making yogurt, butter, and cheese are some examples of how this can be done. However, it's impossible to subsist solely on animals. So pastoralists will supplement their diet by hunting, gathering, fishing, cultivating, or trading. So 2 patterns of movement occur with pastoralism. Of course, oftentimes the animals have to move to get water or pasture. So both of these patterns are based on the fact that herds must move to use pasture available in particular places in different seasons. With pastoral nomadism, the entire group of men, women, and children moves with the animals throughout the year. With transhumance, part of the group moves with the herds, but most people stay in the home village. Horticulture. Horticulture is the cultivation of crops using simple hand tools such as digging, sticks, or hoes. This is similar to what we would call gardening. So horticulture can also be called shifting cultivation, and there are different types of cultivation. Another one is slash and burn cultivation, also called swidden farming. It's an extensive form of horticulture in which the natural vegetation of an area is cut, the rest is burned, and the crops are then planted among the ashes. This is a common and widespread form of horticulture. So some things that make horticulture itself make it horticulture is the use of plots temporarily. So the plots aren't used continuously. In these plots, the nutrients in the soil are often diminished within a few years. Fallowing periods are used, or the plot is simply abandoned. So I mentioned earlier, a fallowing period is when you leave the plot to become overgrown by natural vegetation for a period of time and then recultivate later. So horticulture can support large permanent villages. So we're seeing, if we're thinking about the development of villages and cities, as I was talking about earlier, in large populations, horticulture, even though it isn't as intense as agriculture, can support large permanent villages. So that's kind of important to remember. And remember, these gardening plots are, well, the individual plots aren't permanent, but the area will be used for longer periods of time. So people are more likely to be settled where they are when using horticulture. Also, alternatively, in some groups, they will plant gardens and then move and then come back to the garden later. So horticulture and pastoralism can kind of work in that way, where you're gardening in one area and then you're moving your animals to another area and then you're coming back to your gardening plots later part of the year. So lots of these kind of rules I'm stating for the different subsistence methods are more general, and there's always exceptions to the rules. And sometimes it's hard to kind of figure out or define the type of subsistence a group is using. So you just have to have better description. But anyway, these are some general categories of subsistence, and people and cultures that use the different types often kind of follow some patterns. So that's one reason why we're learning about these different types.